In this tutorial we're going to use our knowledge of primitives to create a couple of tubes which are going to mimic a straw. We'll create a hose segment which has these bends in it, and finally we'll find out how we can mimic movement like this. So step one of the operation is to go into the Create tab and pick Tube, and I'm going to click anywhere in the perspective viewport, click and drag, pull out and let go and pull out further, click a second time and I'm going to pull down away. Not going to be too fussy about sizes at this stage because I'm going to get accurate sizes by editing the parameters over here. For radius 1, which is the inner radius, I'll go for a value of 6. Radius 2, the outer, go for a value of 7, so I've got a quite thin wall. And for the height, I'll go for a value, I'll try minus 150. And go back in here and zoom out to see what that looks like. Yes, that's absolutely fine. Happy with that. I'm just going to raise that upwards for a second. I'll pick select and move and grab that blue handle just there and pull it up some distance higher than the grid. I'll go back in and pick another tube and I'll draw it here. Just zoom in, click, drag, let go, pull out slightly further, click again, push down and go back and change these parameters. Radius 1 again for 6, radius 2 7, and the height I'll just judge it by eye. This is the smaller segment of the straw now, so I think I'm happy with that just there. So I'll pick select and move and pull that up as well. This is where it really comes in useful to have 4 viewports, because I can't really tell in the perspective view whether I've got this small segment accurately positioned in relation to the large segment, but I can tell from, for example, the top viewport over here. I could tell by clicking in it and clicking on the small segment and pulling the red handle, I could sort out the vertical alignment in the top view here. I'll just judge that by eye. And then in the left view, or in fact in the front view, but I'll go for the left view, I can sort out the relative heights of the 2 straws by clicking on that axis arrow just there and pulling up. And although I can tell that that's vertically aligned here, it really doesn't look it in the perspective view, but of course that's perspective for you. We'll just go into that view, go to the view cube, and when we manoeuvre we can see that in fact yes, those top heights are the same. So with that initial stage sorted, I'll go back to the perspective viewport and I'm going to zoom in on the 2 tops just here. And what I need to do is to create the link piece that goes from the short straw to the long straw. That's not one of the standard primitives, so I'll go to the drop down menu that's currently saying standard primitives and go for extended primitives. And among the extended primitives is an option called hose. So with hose selected, I'm going to come back to the perspective viewport and click and drag to get the diameter of the hose. And I don't need to be particular at this stage because, as we've seen already, we can edit the parameters. So I'll settle for that for the diameter of the hose, let go and push up and click, and that's the hose created. And now that we've created this small piece of hose, the first step, rather than getting the diameter put right or anything, the first step is to go into the parameters over here and select bound to object pivots, and that's going to connect the hose to the tops of the 2 straws. So bound to object pivots. So the next stage is to come back to the parameters and select pick top object, and I'm going to pick the shorter tube as my top object. Then back to the parameters and select pick bottom object and select the longer tube. A good idea at this stage to get some more room to play with, so I think I'm going to grab that corner handle there of the viewport, drag that out and then back into here, and you can see what's just been created there. There's my hose. Wrong diameter, lots of other parameters that are wrong, but what we have done is we've bound the hose to the 2 straws. So perhaps the first thing to do to get that to look right is to adjust the tension. So having deselected that, I'm going to make sure I select the object, and I'm going to adjust the tension in this with the two parameters here. And just reduce the tension on that side and that, and we're just judging this by eye here. Just reduce that there too. Okay, we can come back to that if we need to. The next sensible thing to change is the start and end values. These need to be set at 0 for start and 100 for the end. That's so that all these changes here take place over the complete hose. If it starts at some value greater than 0, if it ends at some value less than 100, then the characteristics of the hose don't apply over the full 100% of it. So I'm going to make sure it starts at 0, ends at 100. And the next thing to look at is the number of cycles, and in this case, number of cycles means the number of bends, so we could just scroll that up or down until it looks sensible. I think that's going to be okay just there. And the diameter, under common hose parameters, in this case the diameter is not the large diameter but the smaller inner diameter just here, so I'm going to judge it by eye. It's a percentage of the larger diameter that we're setting here, so that looks okay at that. And the last thing we now need to change is the overall diameter of the new hose segment, and we'll find that by coming further down and under hose shape, in diameter here we can adjust up and down. I think I want to just click in here and zoom right in to get a better look at that. Okay, so I'll just select it again and come back down. Where are we? Hose shape, diameter, that's good. I'll just drag that down and judge that by eye. That's too small, that's too large. That looks just right at that. I'll just manoeuvre around to get a better look. That's going to be fine there. So I'm happy with what we've got there. I'll just zoom out so we get a better view of the whole thing. So of the final changes, the first obvious one is the colour. I'm going to click on that tube and click on the swatch here, and we'll pick a colour for the tube. We'll go for this pink here, and OK, and do the same then for all three segments. Fine. And something worth pointing out here is if we select and move, so I'll pick the select and move tool and grab that segment there, we find that if we grab that handle and move it, then because we bound the hose to the two straw segments, then the hose is fixed. And the same goes for if we pick the rotate tool, we can mimic that kind of movement there also, and we get realistic movement from those two parts. So let's remind ourselves how that happened. If we click on the hose segment, the specific reason why we've got this movement and the attachment is because we selected bound to object pivots and then went through the process of binding the hose to the large and small segments. As you're creating this straw, try and think of other realistic everyday scenarios where this type of movement and connection would be useful.